Why is there a completely blacked out island on Google Earth? Are they hiding something? Is it a glitch? Today I'll be exploring some of Google Earth's most bizarre blacked out places. But that's not all. Did you know that Google Earth solved a murder case and is actually protecting a neighborhood from its dark past? Here are some strange and dark secrets found by the world's largest digital eye in the sky. Vostok Island. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a botanical murder mystery. On the endless blue of the Pacific Ocean, there is a tiny triangular blot called Vostok Island. Don't blink or you'll miss it. That's how tiny it is. On Google Earth, the entire island is a digital black hole. When a Redditor posted a Google Earth screenshot of the place in 2021, the internet went bananas. Something about the island looked wrong, like a glitch in the Matrix. Just a jet black smudge in the middle of paradise. People started saying it was a censored military base or a secret alien compound, or even the hidden entrance to the Upside Down. In reality, things weren't quite so paranormal. Turns out, Vostok Island is for the birds, literally. The Forest of Doom. How much do you know about Pistonia trees? If you're like 99.9% of people, you probably know nothing about them at all. So I'll tell you about these tall, leafy, unassuming murderers. Pistonia trees grow up to 100 feet tall and stick together in dense, clicky clusters, essentially forming an aerial jungle gym. They have a tendency to outcompete everything around them. Sunshine? Mine. Soil? Mine. Room to breathe? Absolutely not. They grow in these selfish little clusters so close together that from above, they look like a sheet of black. Vostok Island looks like it's blacked out, but it's not. It's just covered in Pistonia trees, snuggled so close to one another, they look like a black portal to hell. But they're really just trees. Trees with a horrible secret. Their seeds are diabolical. Most tree seeds are the typical fluttering maple helicopters or the dandelion wishmakers you see floating in the air on a warm spring day. Pistonia seeds, on the other hand, are long, Velcro-coated spears of doom. They are covered in a sticky, gooey substance that clings like something out of a horror movie. And what do you get when you mix these seeds with nesting seabirds? Something out of an avian nightmare. The bird trap nobody asked for. Birds like white terns, red-footed boobies, and black noddies come to islands like Vostok thinking they've found a quiet nesting paradise. And go ahead, have a giggle with the names. Instead, thanks to the Pistonia trees, they stumble into the botanical version of flypaper. When a bird flies into the dense canopy of the Pistonia trees, seeds will latch onto it. The bird tries to fly away, but it can't shake the barbed seeds loose. The birds who come into contact with these seeds then starve to death, trapped in the canopy or left dangling like gruesome Christmas ornaments. Sorry for the terrible visuals, but nature isn't always friendly. Sometimes nature can be just as cruel as the human world. Though to be fair, it's not personal. Pistonia trees aren't trying to murder anything. They aren't cold-blooded bird killers. They're just trying to disperse their seeds, the same thing all trees want. The logic behind the seeds is that they will attach to a bird. The bird will fly to a new island, the seed will grow into a tree, and everybody wins. Except everybody doesn't win. The Pistonia tree evolved a clever reproduction strategy that incidentally murders things. And right now, everyone is sort of at a standstill. The seeds don't germinate any better when stuck to a rotting bird carcass. But the trees don't know that. They don't kill enough birds to force a natural adaptation. At the same time, the birds haven't figured out how to avoid the botanical bear trap, and the result is nothing but chaos. And then there's Vostok Island, sitting there on Google Earth, making everyone think it's an alien base or a secret Russian cloning facility. Nope, just some killer trees and some very unfortunate bird mummies. Still want to visit? The murder Google did not mean to witness. Have you ever been in the right place at the right time? Or is it the wrong place at the wrong time? I think most of us have, at least once or twice, but no one has ever been more in the right spot at the right time than a Google Street View car that may have solved a murder. In October 2023, while innocently cruising through the sleepy Spanish town of Tahueco, a Google camera-equipped car captured what may have been an actual murder in progress. Not that anyone noticed at first. It was just another still frame in the endless, surreal diorama of frozen European towns. You look through Street View and see millions of men on millions of quiet streets. This particular freeze frame shows a normal-looking man loading a large white sack, the kind you'd assume held something like flour, into the trunk of a red car. Nothing that suspicious, right? But if you had Superman's X-ray vision, you would see a body in the white sack. This man was dumping a corpse in his car like some mafioso of the 1940s. The missing man. Let's go back to the beginning. The mystery began when a Cuban man living in Soria, who has not been publicly named, went missing in November 2023. His relative received a string of weirdly cheerful texts. The man claimed he'd met a girl, was leaving town, and was ditching his phone. The text did not sound like the individual at all. He also gave no forwarding address, and he didn't say the name of the girl he met. It was really, really weird. The messages were probably meant to soothe suspicions, but they made things worse. The messages sounded like they were written by ChatGPT. Something was definitely off, so the relative did what anyone would do. They called the police. And that's when the investigation kicked off. It was clear from the beginning that foul play was involved. The Street View. As police combed through digital breadcrumbs, a bizarre lead surfaced. A Google Street View image of a man loading a suspiciously large white bag into the back of a car, on the exact street where the victim's associates lived. It wasn't just eerie, it was time-stamped. When police zoomed out from the pixels and into the real world, things escalated fast. They arrested 2 people. One was the missing man's girlfriend, and the other was the girlfriend's ex-boyfriend. The case quickly unfolded into a love triangle gone horribly wrong, with a body in the trunk as its centerpiece. Police raided both suspects' homes and inspected their vehicles. Evidence turned up, DNA showed up, and the smoking gun, the piece of evidence that sealed the case and put the bad guys away, was the Google Street View snapshot. The perfect crime, the perfect execution. No evidence to link the killing back to the girlfriend and her ex. But as they dumped the body, the car drove by and snapped a photo of the corpse being put into the trunk. What a 1 in a million fumble. Now are you ready for the aftermath? Because as the investigation unfolded, the story got darker. Police later discovered a human torso, badly decomposed, buried beneath a cemetery. While identification is still pending, last I heard, the grim implication is clear. Someone tried to bury the evidence in the physical world, but unfortunately for them, they forgot to account for the digital world and one very nosy robot car. The first image broke the case. The second closed it. A second Google Maps image surfaced later on, showing what appeared to be a blurred figure pushing a wheelbarrow with a large white bundle in it. What sounds like a deleted scene from Breaking Bad was, in fact, a very real part of the investigation. Google Earth caught the murderer putting the body in their trunk and then wheelbarrowing the body to a shallow grave. Who the heck is caught twice by Google committing the same murder? Bad luck or divine karma? And get this, guys, Google hadn't been to Tahueco in 15 years. So the one time it did show up again, in a super random town where hardly anyone lives, it captured what might be a murder in mid-motion. I'm telling you, this killer had the worst luck in history. I was going to give you some homework and tell you to check out the town of Tahueco on Google Earth to zoom in, but I saved you the trouble. I went there myself on Google Earth and I found the car. But Google has blurred the whole section of the road. You can see the red color of the car through the blur, so you know it's the right spot. But Google has definitely censored it. Is digital surveillance a blessing or a curse? This case has sparked a flurry of questions. People are wondering if this is a victory for surveillance technologies, noting the benefit of Big Brother catching killers. But others are asking if we're being watched too much. Should we thank Google for solving a homicide while trying to map the Iberian Peninsula? Or should we tell Google to stop spying on us? Because no matter how careful you think you are, you never know when a satellite, a streetcar, or a blurry silhouette with a GoPro mounted to a pole will be quietly watching you commit the world's worst mistake. And at the end of it all, the case remains open. There's been no news that I know of a conviction or jail time. In fact, no information at all has come out about this alleged murder. But seeing as the car is a blur on Google Street View, I think it's safe to say we all know what happened. And now for a plane that was blacked out over Alaska. But first, I want to give a big shout out to Billy Wiss and Chris Hembry for supporting this channel. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already for more videos like this. The blacked out jet over Alaska. How do you solve a government conspiracy involving a mysterious ghost plane? When a 747 with censored markings appeared in a satellite image over the Alaskan wilderness, internet conspiracy theorists went wild with incredible theories. Then, a Polish teenager solved the mystery. A wild conspiracy. It started with a satellite image. One blurry frame from Google Earth showed a Boeing 747-400 soaring over the untouched wilds of Alaska's Chena River State Recreation Area. This is a place where moose roam and rivers meander, not where you'd expect to find what looked like a high-altitude ghost plane with its markings deliberately blacked out. The fuselage, where airline logos and registration numbers should have been, looked like someone had taken a digital Sharpie to it, with smooth rectangular black bars covering any identifying marks. A Reddit user posted the bizarre image online, and the speculation engine roared to life. Some claimed it was a secret military transport, blacked out to prevent anyone from identifying it. Others said it was part of a CIA mission to Russia. Then there were theories involving alien technology and a secret hangar in a glacier. It was total pandemonium. After all, why would the identifying markers of a 747 be specifically censored? And why above a 254,000-acre stretch of forest nearly 50 miles from Fairbanks, where the only regular traffic is caribou? While everyone was shouting aliens and government cover-up, one teenager quietly got to work solving the mystery. 19-year-old Viktor Kolesinski, a medical student from Poland and hobbyist investigator, treated the mystery like a math problem instead of a Marvel plot. Everyone else wanted to know the names of the aliens involved, but Viktor doubled down on science. Using these coordinates here, he located the aircraft on Google Earth and immediately noticed something off. The black rectangles didn't make any sense to him. They didn't appear to be exclusive to the plane. They were all over the image. Like confetti from a surveillance satellite's birthday party, black boxes littered the surrounding imagery for miles in every direction. Victor identified hundreds, maybe even thousands of black rectangles. On the ground, in the air, on nothing, on everything. This was clearly not a case of a covert airplane being blacked out by Google. It looked like a glitch. A very boring, very logical, and very unspooky Google Earth glitch. The jet was a knockoff. So Victor seemed to have solved the mystery. There was a glitch that painted the whole region in black rectangles, not just the plane. But he wasn't done just yet. Armed with flight direction, visual markings, and the faint ghost of a fuselage logo beneath the glitch, he managed to ID the airline. The plane belonged to Kalita Air, not exactly Spirit Airlines, as few people have even heard of them before. Kalita Air is a cargo airline from the US that specializes in flying parcels, not secrets. They operate 747s with massive Kalita Air lettering across the plane, flanked by red and gold stripes that sit right where those black bars showed up on Google. If you squinted really hard, you could faintly see the faded lettering of Kalita Air beneath the glitch. And then Victor made an excellent point, basically shutting down the conspiracy theorists with one sentence. And that takes talent. Victor said that if someone truly wanted to hide a plane from public view, they wouldn't just slap two lazy rectangles on the identifying bits. They would blur the whole thing, or, not show it at all. The cherry on top is that the black boxes weren't aligned with actual registry spots. They covered them, but were lined up in awkward ways. It's just further proof that no shadow agency was trying to hide Kalita's flight path. It was just a glitch. So the next time you see something weird on Google Earth, you can either blame it on aliens, start a conspiracy YouTube channel, or give Viktor Kolesinski a call and save yourself the trouble. Why was this house blurred out on Google Maps? While there are very few truly blacked out places on Google Maps, there is something else that Google has in abundance: blurred places. These are places where there are random blurry areas that Google does not want people to see. One of them we already found earlier. Google has also blurred out a house where something terrible happened. Something truly terrible. We've all done it before, normally out of boredom. You zoom in on Google Maps in some random city you've never been to, switch to Street View, and start poking around a perfectly ordinary neighborhood. No? Anyone? Just me? You check out the houses with their bright vinyl siding, their mowed lawns, the minivans parked in the driveways. It's like taking a vacation to Pleasantville. But then in the middle of it all is a blur, pixelated void, a ghost house so deliberately erased it looks like someone hit delete on reality. This is no glitch. This is 2208 Seymour Avenue in Cleveland, Ohio. And it's blurred out for a reason so dark, so horrifying, that even Google chose to wipe it off the visual map forever. Because while what's blurred may look like a house, it was really a prison, a torture dungeon of doom. The house of Ariel Castro. From the outside, it was as plain as they come, a 4-bedroom home on a quiet block in Cleveland. But from 2002 to 2013, Ariel Castro, a former school bus driver, turned the home into a real-life nightmare. Inside, hidden behind drawn curtains and bolted doors, 3 women, Amanda Berry, Gina De Jesus, and Michelle Knight, were kidnapped, held captive, and tortured for over a decade. I won't get into the gruesome details in a video about Google black spots, but I will say that all 3 girls were local. All were abducted separately between the ages of 14 and 21. And for 10 years, the outside world searched for them. Posters were hung, news reports aired, vigils were held. All the while, they were trapped in that house, barely yards away from unsuspecting neighbors. And nobody had any idea that Ariel Castro was a sick, demented maniac in need of a jail cell of his own. Castro's house was a prison from hell. It was a calculated labyrinth of control. Chains, duct tape, locked doors, barred windows. These women were held in separate rooms and denied even the most basic dignity. He kept them hidden during family visits, took them on rare outings in disguise, and told them that if they even tried to escape, he would murder their families. This went on for what felt like forever, until one day he slipped up. The escape. On May 6, 2013, Castro forgot to lock the main door, and Amanda Berry seized her chance. She ran to a neighbor's house breathless and told him she was Amanda Berry and that she'd been missing for 10 years. Police arrived right away and found all 3 women miraculously still alive. The illusion of normalcy on Seymour Avenue was shattered, and suddenly that unremarkable house was world news. It was a house of horror plastered on every news station in the country. In the aftermath, the city had a decision to make. What do you do with a house where such unspeakable things happened? Do you turn it into a real-life haunted house and sell tickets on Halloween? Or do you do the right thing and tear that sucker down? Of course you tear it down. On August 7, 2013, the house at 2208 Seymour Avenue was demolished while neighbors watched. Amanda Berry herself helped swing the first blow that brought the house down. It was a symbolic act, not just to remove a building, but to give the neighborhood a chance to breathe again. Google Maps followed suit. By 2019, if you looked up the address of the old house, all you'd see was an empty lot. These days, it's completely blurred out. Google has rendered the property visually unrecognizable. The space where the house once stood is now digitally erased, like it was never there. But of course it was there, and the horrible things that happened within can never be erased. So, the next time you scroll through Google Street View and stumble on a blurred out patch of suburbia, maybe don't ask too many questions. Maybe that blur is hiding some horrible, horrible secret you'd be better off not knowing about. The suspicious pit in Quebec. One man's camping trip turned into a potential interstellar enigma when roasting marshmallows turned into finding a 9-mile-wide hole in the earth. Joel Lapointe wasn't looking for alien craters, ancient cataclysms, or geological revelations. He just wanted to go camping. While scrolling around Quebec's Côte Nord region on Google Maps, prepping for a tranquil wilderness getaway, Lapointe spotted something weird. Something so strange that he debated calling NASA. About 60 miles north of a nearby village near Marsal Lake was a massive ring-shaped depression in the ground. It almost looked like a blacked-out section, a void of nothingness. But it seemed to have some depth. It looked as if someone had punched the earth in the face and left a hole from their giant-sized fist. For most people, this would have been a fun curiosity. Let's say you found the same thing while looking for a camping spot. You'd probably show your friend, have a good laugh, and go about your business. But for Joel, it was a puzzle he couldn't ignore, and he wasn't about to let Google's top-down gaze be the end of it. Lapointe, now thoroughly intrigued, sent an image of the odd terrain to Pierre Rochette, a geophysicist at the Geoscience Research Center in France. Rochette's verdict came swiftly. He said that by looking at the topography, it's very suggestive of impact. Boom! Lapointe may have accidentally discovered the impact site of an asteroid that smashed into Earth at escape velocity, probably after erupting in a fireball and streaking through the sky, much to the surprise of some very dismayed animals. Rochette was intrigued enough by the Google Earth pit that he joined a growing group of scientists actively investigating the site. Lapointe's camping trip turned into a geological field trip. What makes a crater a crater? NASA defines an impact crater as what happens when a space rock, think meteor, asteroid, or other uninvited celestial guest, collides with a planet's surface hard enough to leave a permanent dent. And the Canadian province of Quebec already knows a thing or two about space violence. Canada is home to 31 confirmed craters, and this suspicious pit might be lucky number 32. So far, researchers examining samples from the site have found zircon, a tough mineral that's famous for changing its crystal structure when smacked hard enough by an impact, sort of like the Earth's version of bruising. Zircon is convincing proof that the pit was made by a space rock. Tara Hayden, a postdoc in Earth Sciences at Western University, said the zircons could tell scientists about when the asteroid was delivered to Earth to make the crater. And you've got to love Tara's enthusiasm. She went on to say, "That's the wonderful thing about impact craters. We get to have this link between Earth and the outside universe." In other words, this isn't just a dent in the ground, it's cosmic graffiti. And it might be millions of years old, found completely by accident thanks to a bored Canadian with a Google account. But don't get too excited. Professor Gordon Osinski, also from Western University and Canada's resident crater connoisseur, confirmed that the site's geometry was promising. Circular formations, isolated peaks, local symmetry. It boasted all the signs that something here went boom. However, Professor Osinski also said that 9 times out of 10, they aren't craters. Scientists won't be able to confirm the hole in the ground was made by a cosmic missile until they find something called a shatter cone. A shatter cone is a very specific kind of fractured rock formed only during high-velocity impact events. If Osinski and his team find those, the case is closed. The pit is officially an impact crater. But first, they need funding. Being a geologist isn't exactly the most wallet-rewarding job. Osinski hopes to lead an expedition out to the site before the year is out, assuming that money, logistics, and the wilderness gods cooperate. Until then, the mystery pit remains suspended in cosmic limbo. What about you? Would you brave the wild to explore a 9-mile-wide black hole you found on Google Earth? Let me know in the comments. The island that Google forgot. If a tiny Arctic island disappears from Google Maps and no one sees it vanish, does it become a secret military base by default? There's a place in the icy nothingness of the East Siberian Sea that is so small, so remote, and so unremarkably frozen that, under normal circumstances, no one would care about it. It's called Jeannette Island. It's a 0.2 square mile ice-crusted postage stamp with a peak barely scratching 1,000 feet, sitting quietly above the Arctic Circle. By all accounts, Jeannette Island is as dull and boring as an island can be. It's a total snooze fest, which makes what happened to the island so strange. When you search for Jeannette Island on Google Maps, you won't see cliffs or sea ice or rugged ridges. You'll see a black pixelated smudge, a sinister void, a censored blob in the middle of the Arctic. And that is how you get conspiracy theorists out of bed in the morning. What is Jeannette Island? Before it was a Google enigma, Jeannette Island was the setting for one of the Arctic's most miserable camping trips. In 1879, U.S. naval officer George E. DeLong took the USS Jeannette and sailed north. Why set sail to the frigid top of the world? It was a very American attempt to conquer the Arctic Ocean. Unfortunately for George and his crew of brave sailors, nature had other plans. His ship got jammed in ice and drifted helplessly for 18 months before breaking apart. Instead of conquering the Arctic Ocean, a little bit of ice conquered the expedition. Somehow DeLong and what remained of his crew ended up stranded on a tiny little rock of an island in May of 1881. The island was about the size of Vatican City, but with way less popes. They may have been stuck, frozen, and near death, but that didn't stop them from planting a flag. The crew named the island after their doomed ship and claimed it for the United States of America. Out of the original 33 men, only 9 survived. It was a harrowing tragedy. After DeLong's chilly adventure, Jeannette Island just sort of sat there. Nobody really paid attention to it until the early 20th century, and that was when the Imperial Russian Navy rolled in during their Arctic hydrographic expedition of 1910 to 1915. And what do you suppose the Russians did? They planted their own flag on the island, and today the modern Russian Federation administers it via the Sakha Republic. While some Americans still insist it's technically U.S. territory, the U.S. government has never formally contested it. They let Russia have it with so much as a sneeze. And now you're probably wondering what any of this has to do with Google Earth. Don't worry, I'll get there. The blackout. The mystery began in 2018 when satellite users noticed that Jeannette Island didn't just look blurred, it looked intentionally censored. On Google Maps, the satellite view was either completely blacked out or smeared like someone had deleted it with digital camouflage goo, I don't know. Google didn't comment, NASA stayed silent, and Russia, of course, said nothing. So leave it to Reddit to fill the void. They deduced that Google rarely blacks anything out without a reason, that it might be a Russian military base, and that there's probably a doorway on the island leading to a secret underground civilization ruled by aliens. Suddenly, Jeannette Island became the Arctic Roswell, an icy enigma wrapped in a digital glitch, wrapped in Cold War deja vu. But what was the actual reason for the island being blurred? The truth. One group of digital detectives over at the open-source intelligence site Bellingcat offered a far more boring and likely explanation than aliens or a secret military base. They said the black smudge isn't censorship at all. It's just a data error. Sometimes, when satellite imaging software tries to stitch together photos taken from orbit, things go sideways. Data packets get lost, pixels go rogue, blending errors create weird artifacts like blocks, blobs, and mysterious black voids. Jeannette Island just happens to have been one of the unlucky rocks caught in that glitch. It's like the Arctic version of having your face blurred in a group photo that no one asked for. Also, the data provider for the island's imagery is a Russian-led international Arctic mapping project, which means the glitch might not even be Google's fault. It might just be the unholy offspring of bureaucratic software and Russian satellite lag. I don't think Jeannette Island is the key to global domination or a hidden missile silo. It's a windswept, forgotten rock with a history of stubborn explorers and botched pixels. The black smudge remains, not as evidence of secrecy, but as a reminder that nothing invites paranoia like a blank space on a map. What's the coolest thing or creepiest thing you've ever discovered while browsing Google Maps? Either the Earth view or the Street view. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon. Bye!